Welcome to the First Hebrew Primer, Chapter 10. Let's dive into our vocab for this week. Beginning in the upper right here, we have the word ochel, or the plural ochelim, which is translated tent, masculine noun. Below that, we have the word for gold, which is zahav, gold, zahav. Below that, the proper name Jacob, Yaakov. Sometimes when you hear people say this in like modern Hebrew, it just sounds like one A, Yaakov. But there are technically two A vowels there, so Yaakov. Below that, you hear the word, this is the word thus, like thus says the Lord, ko. The word priest is pronounced kohen, priest, kohen, the plural, kohanim. This next word has quite a variety of potential meanings. Vessel, implement, dish. It can be used of a weapon, like in war. And it's pronounced kali, or the plural, kelim. Below that is a word we've used in examples so far. The word for wilderness or desert is midbar. In the upper left, we have the word for place, is makom. It's a masculine noun, but it does take an irregular feminine plural ending, makomot. Below that is the word for soul or person. This is an often misunderstood word. It really refers to something like a person of life. It's grammatically feminine, although the singular looks masculine. It's nephesh. Nephesh. It does take a feminine plural, nefashot. Below that is the word translated again, still, another, or more, and that is pronounced od. Below that we have the word for eye. This really has two separate meanings. The word for eye, like an eyeball, or the word for spring, like a spring of water, and that's ayin. Or the plural, it uses a dual plural, which makes sense with eyes, einayim. So ayin or einayim. Below that is the word Rachel, which is Rachel. Then we have the word for commander or chief, like a military leader, is Sar or Sarim. And then the word for face or faces is Panim. Okay, so we're going to continue our discussion of word pairs. We talked in the last chapter just about singular nouns as word pairs, masculine and feminine. Now we're going to look at plural nouns. So this is probably the biggest difference compared to what the regular kind of lexical form of the word. In a masculine plural noun, the normal ending, which is that hirik yod main, is going to get dropped off and it's going to change to tzerei yod when it's the first word in a word pair. Or if it's just not the last word of a word pair, if it's that word pair form of the word. There are also other vowel changes that can occur in the word as well. So here's some examples. Here's the word Elohim, right? God. If you want to say the God of, say the God of Israel, you drop that hirik yod mem and you add a tzerei yod. And now it's Elohei. So you'd say something like Elohei Yisrael, the God of Israel. Here's the word sons, banim. If you want to say the sons of, like the sons of Jacob, you drop the hirik yod mem, put in the tzerei yod, b'nei Yaakov. Here is the word for eyes we just looked at, einayim. That reduces to einay, like the eyes of a person, right? Okay, so here's some examples from your textbook. Like the word people is anashim. If you want to say the people of Egypt, Anshe Mitzrayim. Now we know that's definite. You use the word the because Mitzrayim is a proper name. So the men of Egypt. Or here's the word Yadayim, hands. If you want to say the hands of Moses, Yadei Moshe. Again, it's definite because Moses is a proper name, the hands of Moses. Here's the word for gates, Sha'arim, goes to Sha'arei Ir, the gates of a city. There's no definite article there. Then here, banim is the word for sons, and b'nei mishpacha, sons of a family. Again, no definite article there either. Okay, what about feminine nouns? Well, feminine plural endings, the ot, actually stays when it's a word pair. So that part doesn't change. There are often other vowel changes that do take place, particularly the vowel reduction that we talked about last week. So here's some examples of like the word daughters, banot. If you want to say daughters of a father, banot av. Here's that shava, that reduction of that first vowel that we talked about in the last chapter is at play here as well. Here's the word fathers, avot, which takes that feminine plural ending. Avot ha'am, the fathers of the nation, that you get vowel reduction here to that combination vowel because a guttural can't take a vocal shava. Up here you have mishpachot, families, goes to mishpachot am, families of a nation. And the only change here really is this vowel here, that long A under the pei, reduces to a vocal shava. Then you have the word names, shemot, goes to shemot banim, names of sons. And again, you get vowel reduction in that first consonant there. Okay, here's some familiar names you might know. B'nai Brit, sons of a covenant. B'nai, that's the masculine plural construct form of the word for sons. B'nai Brit, sons of a covenant. Or perhaps you've heard Beit Shalom, house of peace. Again, it's that construct form or the word pair form of the house. Or Beit Lechem, which we've talked about in this course, house of bread. All right, let's take a look at how word pairs are used in some sentences. So let's look at this top example. You have Bein Yaakov Zachar. So this is a word pair, a son of Jacob, and then we get the verb, a son of Jacob remembered. And the subjects and verbs have to agree in person, gender, and number. And so because son is a third masculine singular verb, or noun, the verb has to be inflected as a third masculine singular. If we change that to the sons of Jacob, B'nai Yaakov, you'd have to use the masculine, or this is third common plural verb form, Zacharu. So the sons of Jacob remembered. Or if you had a feminine subject, Bat Yaakov, the daughter of Jacob, you have to use the third feminine singular form of the verb, Zachara. She remembered. The daughter of Jacob remembered. Or here's a feminine plural, Benot Yaakov Zacharu, the daughters of Jacob remembered. Here's that third common plural form. Remember, the third plural form is the same for either masculine or feminine. Here we have Rachel Ra'ata B'nai Melech. Rachel saw, and see how we use that third feminine singular form of the verb because Rachel is the subject, and then the object here is sons of a king. Now, if you wanted to make that definite, the sons of the king, you'd say Rachel Ra'ata et. Use that definite direct object marker, B'nai Hamelech. So our summary of word pair forms in the singular, this is a review from the last chapter. Some words, you remember, don't change their spelling if they're the first word of a word pair. Some change only their vowels. You just get that, reduction to some vowel reduction. And in feminine singular nouns, the kamate changes to a tav. So that's for singular word pair forms. In the plural word pair forms, the summary here is the hirik yod mem changes to a tzere yod in the masculine plural form. You can see the example there. The holim vav tav in the feminine plural form stays the same, but you might get some other vowel reductions that take place. There are some irregular word pair forms that don't fit this pattern. So each word pair form, especially if it's irregular, will be listed in the glossary in the back of the book. Any good lexicon will list irregular forms as well. Just a note, your textbook makes a point every once in a while to remind you that correct Hebrew is not always correct English. And sometimes you have to adjust the translation to make for a little bit more smoother English. For example, there are a lot of words that are plural in English that appear as collective singular nouns in Hebrew, and that changes the verb form as well. So this first example, literally this is cattle, the cattle of Abraham, but cattle in Hebrew is a singular noun. It is in English too, kind of. It's a collective singular. But Hebrew is going to use a singular verb for that. So the cattle of Abraham was in the field of Egypt. But that's not good English. So we would need to change that singular verb to plural when we translate it. The cattle of Abraham were in the fields of Egypt. And this is just more about, that doesn't really affect the meaning of it at all. We're just trying to make it sound a little bit more natural in English. Also, word order can be an issue. So here we have all the day, or all day, made the king judgment for the nation. So here there's a couple things. There's this singular plural form of judgment. You might want to translate that judgments depending on the context. The singular or plural referent to that might be different between Hebrew and English. And then also the word order. Make sure you get the right subject with the verb. So this is all day, the king, subject, made judgments for the people. And here judgments, plural in English, sounds a lot more natural than the singular judgment. You could argue, well, let's keep the singular judgment. I always try to lean towards keeping it as literal as possible, as long as it communicates clearly in English. Sometimes you do have to make those little adjustments depending on the situation. Okay, there's also just a little note here on another grammatical feature in Hebrew, and it's called the directional hey. Sometimes Hebrew will attach a Kametz hey to a noun to indicate motion or direction toward something. And when it does that, you need to translate it as to or toward. So for example, here's the word tent, the normal word tent, ha-ochel, the tent. If you want to say toward the tent, you can actually put a Kametz hey on the end of that, ha-ohela. That would be toward the tent. So it's that final Kametz hey. It's a directional or a locative hey, sometimes it's called, and it's talking about direction toward something. Here's the word land, eretz. If you want to say toward the land or landward, you'd say artza. Add that Kametz hey. Or here habayit, the house, habayata, houseward, toward the house. Hahar, mountain, hahara, toward the mountain. Or Yerushalayim can be used with a proper name like this. Yerushalayimah, toward Jerusalem. And just a note here that the directional hey of the Kametz hey, it's not used with a preposition, the lamed or the el. And you can translate it as to or toward. Now you can also use the preposition el or la to mean to or toward, but the noun that is the object of the preposition won't have a directional hey on it. Let me just show you the example. Here we have Moses and the sons of Moab, the children of Moab, went to or toward Egypt. Where here you have Moses and the children of Moab went toward Egypt. So it's a very subtle difference between those two. They're often translated synonymously.